nothing but the dog in me.
One must die, chase the cat.
Good evening and welcome to Posse Presents. Here we are. I apologize for not being here last week. Sometimes things happen. This week was the week that we had to put in our bids to renew our shows. Speedo and I got our papers in, and hopefully all will be well, and we will have our time slots continuing as they are going forward. It's always, you know, you figure you can't get comfortable. You know what I mean? You can't get comfortable because you never know what'll happen, but hopefully we'll have our 7 and 8 o'clock respective time slots, and life will go on as we know it. Because really, what would a Saturday night be without, yeah, really, we can't let Waterbury down, as Speedo just said, with Speedo 316 at 8 and Posse Presents at 7. Anyway, have kind of a call to action for people tonight. I've spoken about before on the air, and I've written about, and I've posted about 2 dogs, Kato and Cleo. And for anybody who's not familiar with the story, Kato and Cleo on October 3rd of 2012 were minding their own business in their yard. Their mom was right there in the yard with them. It was a gated yard, and the gate was closed. Someone from the outside opened the gate. The dogs, as dogs do, went out, went down the street. Their owner was right behind them, you know, trying to catch up. And they came to the corner where a frenzy ensued because there were 2 dogs out. People started beating the dogs. Someone was bitten in the fray. But what happened from there, and it wasn't, I'm sorry, for my money, it wasn't a serious bite, because there's no evidence of it. And that's just my opinion. The dogs were impounded. Now, keep in mind that these dogs were beaten severely, and Kato, the male, took the brunt of the beating. He was hospitalized for the grand portion of the impound. Instead of getting her dogs back, their mom, Kim, was served with a destruction order. And it's mind-boggling that there are dogs that have histories that are set back into the population. There are dogs that do far worse that get set back into the population. But Kato and Cleo, who for all reports are good dogs, loving dogs, happen to be let out of their yard. And let me just mention that the neighborhood that they live in is unfortunate. They do live in Hamden, and it's, you know, the place where Kim grew up. It's not the place where Kim chooses to be now, but it's where she is, taking care of her very elderly mother. You know, sometimes you can't get out of a place for wanting to. So the neighborhood is not a place that most of us would live in, have lived in, are familiar with. Most of us would probably bypass it. So it would be hard for us to know the dynamic of what mischief and trouble can come about in a heartbeat. So yeah, Kato and Cleo impounded. They have had this destruction order imposed on them by the powers that be. Kim has fought tooth and nail to have them released. There has been, you know, the stay of execution, literally, for all this time. However, poor Kato and Cleo are living behind bars, literally, at the pound. And, you know, there's seems to be no end in sight. Unfortunately, It's cost Kim a small fortune, legal fees, and just, she provides their food, she provides their medical care, she provided for Kato's hospital stay. It's ruining her life on a lot of levels. Never mind, the financial aspect of it. Emotionally, she's drained. She wants her babies back, and how could you not want your babies back? How could you just say, go ahead, kill my dogs, it's all good, it's all their fault because they're Rottweilers, and they have a bad rap, so just go ahead, kill them. You don't do that. They're your babies. If anybody has a dog, just how your dogs are important to you. So the call to action is basically a court date that is scheduled for this Tuesday, June 2nd. It's a pre-argument conference. It's set to begin at 11:30. Zach, while I'm talking, let's get the pictures up of Kato and Cleo if we can. It's at the Waterbury Courthouse at 300 Grand Street. If you can make it, you're asked to be outside that courthouse at 11 a.m. If you can wear a black shirt, because that's their color, we're going to be wearing black shirts. If you would like to make a sign, you can make a sign to say, Free Kato and Cleo. There's always the hope that everyone who does show up will be respectful. We're not trying to make any more enemies, because there are people who feel very strongly that Kato and Cleo should be killed, and we are trying to take the higher road with everything that we represent on behalf of them. There is a Facebook page, Free Kato and Cleo, if anybody wants to go and check that out. Their full story is posted. There's a petition that you can sign. There's more information. Kudos to the Facebook community, because the page has just reached 5,000 likes. Who would have thought? So on behalf of Kim, thank you to everybody for the support that has been so wonderful once that she got together and put the page up and started to really appeal to the public for support. This picture that's up now is one that one of the followers made on the page, and it's actually quite nice. Zach, let's have another one. That's Kato and Cleo this Memorial Day weekend. How these dogs are still so good and so smiley and so happy. This is how they live. This is how they've lived for 2.5 years in a cage, side by side. It's a terrible thing to think that that's how these dogs have to be instead of home, where they're wanted and where they're loved. This picture is with Kim's mother, and really, she's 96 now. She loves these dogs like no tomorrow. Kato was basically, her unofficial therapy dog, her comfort, her solace. How long do you think Kim's mother really has? And they're dragging this out, and other than in a setting like this, she's never going to have her dog back. So that's just really heartbreaking. Kato and Cleo have people who love them. They have, people who support them. They have a loving home, a responsible owner, and the legal system, the powers that be, insist that these dogs should be destroyed. And that's just, it's unacceptable. For them to be still as good of temperament as they are after all this time, is a plus. It's amazing. And, Kim does visit them and spend time with them, and, you have to give her a lot of credit for keeping them sane, because most dogs would not have stayed as good of temperament as Kato and Cleo have. It's also testimony to how good they really are, that they have not cracked under the stress of kennel life to this point. So if you can be at the Waterbury Courthouse at 11 a.m. at 300 Grand Street on Tuesday to show your support, it would be much appreciated. We're just trying to send the message that, you know, these dogs have support, Kim has support, and this is dragged on for 2.5 years, which is 2.5 years far too long, and these dogs need to be returned home. You know, there's no reason. In my opinion, the ACO, the animal control officer, was hasty in his decision to follow through in the manner that he did, and he's not man enough to admit his mistake to his superiors. He's not, you know, forthcoming with any kind of help in this situation, you know. I really firmly believe that if he stepped up and admitted that, you know, perhaps he was hasty, that would have a great impact on what's going on. The Department of Agriculture is very much, they have their heels dug in, and, you know, they won't bend. So it's a really tough fight, and to show your support is the best we can hope for. You know, if the powers that be can see that, you know, there's a rally, there's support, there's people who believe in these animals and their owner, maybe, just maybe, it could make a difference, and it is the difference between life and death. So check out the free Kato and Cleo Facebook page, sign the petition online. You know, Kim is very accessible. If you message the page, she will answer you if you have any questions at all. You know, if I can answer any questions, feel free to message me. The event itself, there is a Facebook event. Kato and Cleo have a rescheduled court date. It's posted on the Pound Posse Presents page, so you can check that out. You know, click that you're going to go, find out any more information. If you need it as a reminder, please see what you can do. Again, wear a black shirt. If you want to make a sign, make a sign. But if you can't do any of that, at least keep Kato and Cleo in your prayers, because they really need it. You know, this has been long enough. This really has. All right, Zach, I will take the camera back for just a moment, and I'm going to talk about a dog who has been in the Easton Animal Shelter for just over a year. Yesterday was his year mark. If we can get the pictures up of Weston, please. You can scroll through them while I'm talking about him. Weston, yes, has been there since 5/28 of 14. He is a very sweet boy. He has seen all the other dogs in the last year come and go, and he still sits there, and it just boggles my mind. He is such a gorgeous dog. Look at him. Yeah, his eyes are just amazing, right? He is said to be a Pit Basset mix, which, I mean, I guess he's long enough of body, and he certainly has the pitty head. But I do remember talking about Weston here on the show before, so he really has been in there for a year. And, you know, I did post him, and still sitting there, the poor guy. You know, he gets attention from the staff. He gets their time. He gets to go outside. He gets walks, but it's just not enough. It's no substitute for being home and having exercise and, you know, a couch to lay on and, you know, people to love him. Totally no excuse for, you know, for him to be there. He's a really good boy. Unfortunately, he's getting bored. He's starting to stress out, and that's never a good sign. You know, his days are now numbered because of that. You know, I hate it, but we really do need to rally for Weston. The ACO says he's intelligent, he learns quickly, he has lots of energy. He's going to need to be in a setting where he can get his groove on, so to speak, and have exercise and run around and play. He's going to need a strong and firm hand. And he's also going to need time to decompress, which is something that too many people don't understand. Any dog who's been in a shelter, especially a dog who's been in a shelter for the length of time that Weston has been, needs time to decompress, needs time to get the kennel behind him, get the sense of being home, you know, feel like he needs to feel the love, he needs to learn the new routine, he needs to feel safe, and he needs to feel like a dog. You know, he is about 2 years old, and so he has effectively spent half of his life at the shelter. So he really does need maybe a little training and lots of love and patience. He is neutered. As I said, he's said to be a Basset Pit mix. It's not known how he is with other dogs. You know, they really don't engage in testing there at the pound. So if you have another dog, you would definitely need to have proper introductions and more than likely keep them separate for an undetermined period of time before you can really expect miracles. You know, if he could find a place right now maybe where he could be the only dog, that would be great. I read on his thread on Facebook there's some interest. There's a rescue willing to step up if a foster comes forward. But, you know, interest is great, but what he needs is a real place to go, and the sooner the better, because like I said, his days are numbered. So the Easton Animal Shelter is at 385 Morehouse Road in Easton, and the number to call if you're interested in Weston is 203-268-9172. And, you know, if you can't do anything else, share him. I have him written up in my column. It's on the Pound Posse Presents page. It's all over the place. This is an article that's traveling well. So let's hope that, you know, somebody can step up and save this boy before it's too late. His time is really running out. I will take the camera back for a moment, once again, please. And I'm going to talk about some lost dogs. There's several. There's always lost dogs, but there's several in the area that I would like to bring to your attention. One, her name is Bella, and let's get Bella's picture up. Thank you, Zach. Bella was stolen from her yard on 5/13 at about 2:30 in the afternoon. Bella was stolen from Woodlawn Terrace across from Driggs School. She leaves behind a 3-year-old boy who can't understand where his best friend is. You know, they used to sleep together every night. Child is madly in love with the dog madly in love with the child. So, you know, every family who's missing a dog feels it, but, you know, when you got a little kid involved, it's kind of hard. An eyewitness said that there were 2 women who picked Bella up out of her yard, just picked her up, walked to the corner where they met a man in a navy blue car. The man got out, took Bella from the women, and then they all got in the car and drove away, and that's the last anyone who has seen or heard of Bella. Kind of hard. There's no tracking that can be done for that. You can't even get, you know, the dogs in. You can't depend on local sightings. She could be anywhere, and that's very painful. It's basically a dog napping. Bella is small, she's friendly, she's 7 months old, and she was last seen wearing a black collar. If anybody has any info, seen anything, know anything, please call the family at 203-510-2130, Once again, that's 203-510-2130. The next dog is Stella. Stella is lost in Waterbury. There have been recent sightings, kind of not too far from the studio, I believe. Her most recent sightings were in the area of Pritchard Road and Store Avenue. There's been a trap set. There are people working very hard to catch her. If you see her, call immediately, please, and report where she was, where you saw her, and in what direction she was traveling. Do not chase her. The number to call, as you see on the screen, is 203-592-7100. The next dog up is Corey. Corey is lost in New Britain. Time is of the essence. He's 8 years old, he's blind, and he has a heart condition. If you can call with any sightings, 860-837-5145. Once again, that's 860-837-5145. Unfortunately, there's not more particular information about where exactly in New Britain Corey is lost, but wherever you are, please keep an eye out. The next dog is Itty Bitty. Itty Bitty is lost on the Wilkett-Bristol line. Once again, call with any sightings. This is just a little teeny tiny dog, and that's a scary thing. It's scary when any dog is lost. So if you have any information about Itty Bitty, if you know where Itty Bitty might be, if you've seen Itty Bitty, please call 860-637-6285. Once again, that's 860-637-6285. And I will take the camera back, and I'm going to talk about something that people maybe don't think of, you know. Animal advocates and rescuers see a lot of things. They endure the pain of seeing animals suffer, of trying to save so many, and sometimes it's in vain. You know, they pour everything they can possibly give, physically, mentally, emotionally, and sometimes even financially, into a fight that seems endless. It wears on their very souls at times. It can seem hopeless. Each loss hits hard. Each new face that pleads to be saved keeps them going even when it feels like they can't go on. If they have friends in the same situation, it can be a good support system. Not everybody has that. Sometimes there are no friends or family to understand. There's no one to turn to for emotional support. You know, maybe it's just hard to admit to your peers that you're faltering or feeling weak. You know, it's not an easy thing. There are actually rescuers and animal advocates who have committed suicide because they couldn't take it anymore. I can tell you that it does wear. Some of the things I see, some of the emotions that come over me, you know, I've been at this for a long time. Yeah, I took a little break for a while because sometimes there are different aspects of it that get to be too much. Sometimes it's the people that just make it impossible to go on. Mostly it's the animals suffering. It's the great losses that happen. It's fighting to save a particular dog and it's not a good outcome. It's a heavily emotional thing. Some nights you can scroll through Facebook or whatever venue you're on the internet, and you know, you just want to cry seeing these faces, and some nights you can have the strength to share and try to get involved and help. Zach, let's get that last picture up. There's a new group who wants to provide support through the organization In Defense of Animals. Those in the US and Canada can take advantage of this new service. The people are there to listen, lend support, and just let you talk. It's staffed by volunteers who understand. They're actually also looking for volunteers who can give 1 3-hour block of time per week, manning the phones, I imagine, being part of that support system. I think this is a fabulous idea. I hope it catches on, because, you know, sometimes we just need somebody to talk to. You know, like I said, I've experienced the emotions myself. There are plenty of times, just in my capacity, from what I see and what I feel, it hurts, and it makes it very hard to want to go on. It makes it very hard to want to stay, but then you know that what's going to happen if there's not that one person that is you, that is doing what you can do to try to help. And it keeps you going, but it just wears on your psyche, and it wears on your emotions, and it wears on your very soul. So if you want to take advantage of the services, you can call 800-705-0425. Once again, that's 800-705-0425. Or you can email helpline@idausa.org. Once again, that's helpline@idausa.org. And really, I think this is a fabulous idea. I have this posted up on the Pound Posse Presents Facebook page as well. I think I've posted it to my page too. You know, sometimes we all need someone to talk to, and it's not a sign of weakness. Sometimes it's a sign of strength to be able to express your emotions. So, you know, don't hesitate. We don't all have a great support system, and you know, a lot of us are viewed by our family and friends as crazy because we care so much about animals. It would be a really nice thing to be able to talk to someone who understands, and I get that. So, Zach, I will take the camera back. And, you know, really, I've been in a position where, you know, if people need to talk, I can lend an ear. Perhaps I can lend advice. You know, I've been a go-to person in certain situations. So by all means, if, you know, if I can ever help, I'm here too. Certainly not to that capacity, but in any case, it's that time again. And I'm going to say peace, love, and dogs. Until next time, take care and keep those dogs out of hot cars. Good night, everybody.